Now, TV9 Maharashtra has been holding a conclave with the London Business School as well, and we have Mr. Suresh Prabhu who is giving his lecture. Let's listen.
And you heard it before all the time. Your grandparents have told your parents that it is changing fast, and you will be telling your kids also that it is changing. But the kind of change that we are seeing today is something unimaginable. Because we have taken certain things for granted. When you go to B school, you learn how to do business when you leave the campus, how to manage business. And you have already learned that one of the part of management is to deal with uncertainties, to deal with externalities, which goes beyond your own business. You have to manage your business, manage so many things in the business, all different functions, how to integrate them, how to align them to your corporate objective, all of that is fine. But that's the internal problem. But there are certain externalities, and that's part of your own business management as to how to deal with the externalities. But what is externality is also in a way known to you. It's not a surprise that externality just suddenly dawns on you from nowhere. But today, it looks like the so-called externalities are becoming so profoundly different than what we have already thought of. And that is going to affect your internal business as well while you deal with that. And it is still unfolding. And I would therefore saying hopefully things will work out a way. It will not be so disruptive, so challenging that we'll have to redraw our entire business plan for each of us. I hope not. But still, there are certain things which happened in a way, and as John mentioned, that it has to be win-win for all. No partnership ever works that I say I win and you lose. You can actually make a deal, but it never sustained. Because eventually you realize, and you will walk out of that and will probably cause more damage than initially you thought you gained out of making such a unequal deal. But point is, the world benefited from this win-win in a manner. Now obviously the win was far more for some countries, and some countries lost much more than what they initially thought. But when you say you lost in something, but you gained something else. See, the whole world has seen an incredible growth in economic activity, economic output over the last few decades, maybe 5 decades. China joined the so-called globalization race little late, because China was not a member of GATT, which actually made into a WTO. So China had to go to each country, knock the door, take their consent, because WTO works on consensus. So unless everybody agrees, nothing is done. And they, after joining in 2001, in the last 2.5 decades, and even a little bit earlier when they started the reform in 78, but particularly in this, they expanded their economic footprint of the world enormously. China started manufacturing for world markets. And when you are selling for the world market, you have to create a world capacity. And you created capacities to cater to the global market, so they were so huge, they could benefit from scale capacity, and therefore they could also sell their products at a cheaper rate. Now it's always a debatable issue why they can sell so cheap. And we, as India also at the receiving end, we have a huge trade deficit with China. I was also Commerce Industry Minister. I don't know whether you said that, but I was also amongst 10 different portfolios. This is one of my portfolios. And I'll come to it because you triggered my thinking. I was aviation, so you talked about drones. I remember that. But point I'm saying is, China could sell this at such a cheap rate globally because they were selling a global market. Now, it's a debatable issue whether I lost my market share. But a country like US, which is actually the economic growth happens because of consumption. If the products were not that cheap, would you have consumed that much? And if you had not consumed that much, the consumer spending would have been as much as it is today. And if it was not, then where the US economy would have grown as much as it has grown today, it's a debatable issue. US lost manufacturing, but gained in services. So as we were discussing earlier, US claims, and which is a fact, that they have got huge current account deficit. Not only trade deficit, current account deficit. Interestingly, US current account deficit